Hi, I'm Ann Michelle Hart, Chief of Staff of the Federal Way Public Market and your moderator for this brief video. Thanks for taking time to learn more about public markets and why our group, Federal Way Public Market, believes Federal Way needs a public market in order to grow and prosper. We hope that by the end, you are as excited as we are to make this happen and will join us or support us so that this truly community-driven public market will be built. My co-hosts today are...
Hi, I'm Dave Harrelson. I'm the Secretary for the Market.
I'm Greg McCann, the Vice President.
First, I'd like to introduce us as an organization. We are a community-driven organization. Our vision is to establish a community hub to help our city grow as a vibrant and economically prosperous place to live, work, and play. Our mission is to establish a public market to create economic, educational, and cultural opportunities for all Federal Way residents. And our primary goals are 1, to foster economic development, and 2, create a central gathering place in a town square. Our board is leading this effort. Our president is Roger Flygare. You met Greg McCann, our vice president. Reno Balatbat is our treasurer. You met Dave Harrelson, our secretary. I'm Ann Michelle Hart. I'm chief of staff. Frank James is our fundraising chair. And Peggy Mays Johnson is our community liaison. All of us are volunteers. Some of us are still working while others are retired. All of us have at least 25 years as residents of Federal Way. What's our expertise? The board is made up of small business owners, an attorney, corporate managers, an architect, a nonprofit executive, a contract manager for a state agency, and a community organizer. We're also very proud that several of our board members are military veterans. We are involved to ensure that Federal Way has a positive future where people want to live here. Dave, as we've talked to people one-on-one, we've learned that we need to clarify the differences between farmers markets and public markets. Would you spend a few minutes describing farmers markets for us?
Yeah, absolutely, Ann. You know, this has been a key point before we talk anything else about public markets is defining the differences and the similarities. But I think the thing to do is to think back to when farmers markets began. Trading markets have occurred for thousands of years, but farmers markets were all about farmers in this country coming to a central location to sell their fruits and vegetables and other homemade products. So that really is the core of what the core business of farmers markets in this day and age is. It's a central place. They usually set up for 1 day a week for a limited number of hours. And it is going on during the growing season, which makes sense because that's when the products are available. So it really is on a limited schedule. They also are in temporary facilities so that you have facilities, pop-up tents, tables, and those kind of things that can be brought in for the day, set up, they do their business, and then they're easy to take down and to cart away. So the facilities really are temporary, which means you also have things like portable toilets, generators rather than electricity, lighting is temporary, those kinds of things. So it really is all about temporary facilities. The core business of these markets is, as they always has been, it's been about fruits and vegetables and homemade goods made from those products. And so it really is about those local products from the farm to the table. And it can include things like fruits, vegetables, jellies, jams, any of those kind of products that are made. You will not find any franchises or chain stores, but you will, in some markets, find things like other events and activities that go on, such as bringing in entertainers, community events, and various folks that make crafts. And we've been very lucky here because Roselle and her team that have had the farmers market here have had all of these sort of extra features beyond the core business of a farmers market.
Dave, now can you spend a few minutes describing public markets and how they differ from farmers markets and how both can benefit when they work together?
Sure, and this is what's exciting is because you really find that they do work better when they are together. Public markets, however, are, in terms of schedule, are pretty much year round. They operate close to 365 days a year. And it's not limited to the growing season like a farmer's market, but it is open an extended number of hours because you have indoor facilities with lighting and heating and those kind of things. However, you will find that the facilities are permanent facilities versus temporary facilities, but they can have if they have a farmer's market or if there's an event that's going on, you will find temporary tents and things set up in the parking lot or even within the building itself, depending on how it's designed. Again, the focus, like with a farmer's market, is on local. It's local products and goods grown by local people. You will not find any franchises or chain stores in a public market or a farmer's market. And again, I think this was a bit of a surprise to us, but we really found that although they sell these freshly made goods and packaged goods and so on, they in a farmer's and a public market, that they really do work better together.
Thanks, Dave. Now that we have a clearer distinction between public markets and farmers markets, would you give us an idea of the types of features you can generally expect to find in public markets?
Yeah, and this is what really got us excited, because it really is subject to the imagination of whoever's running the public market. But bottom line is that what a public market is a tourist attraction. It creates a destination in the city that they're in and becomes a platform, not just for buying and selling goods, but really for a variety of events, and it serves as a gathering place. So again, your imagination can run wild in terms of how the space is used. One of the uses is the lease of property to farmers markets. Again, it allows the farmers markets to have a permanent location and permanent facilities, can provide covered areas for them, electricity, regular toilets, storage, maybe even some food prep areas. So again, the partnership between the two works well if the public market leases space to the farmers market. One of the things you find in these markets, whether it be in the temporary farmers market or in the kiosks and things in the market, and even some of the stores, is that the business owners are passionate about their products, but they don't know how to run business. They have never had any training. So business incubators will frequently be a part of public markets and what makes them successful. It'll provide not only the training and support and mentorship, but it gives the vendors a place to market their products and test out their marketing on a first-time basis at a very low cost, because they could start with a single little table. Educational offerings are just all over the board. You could have a variety of DIY classes if you dedicate classroom space to this, where you have DIY classes around making chocolate, doing stained glass, how to garden, how to do poetry, anything that the community might support. You could do those educational classes in that area. The other bonus is, because you're talking to local people that are making local products, is that you find that you can go in and talk to them about, and you get educated about the products that they're selling, how they were made, and how they can be used. So that's another form of education. And that's also, I guess, a form of demonstration, is that they can demonstrate the products that they're selling. You also find, like at the Puyallup Fair, that you can have an area where where a cook or a chef could be showing good recipes, how to use unique food products that might be for sale in the market, and so on. Tasting rooms really allow you to showcase the best of what's going on in your community, whether it be things like coffee or wine or chocolates or various foods. It's a place where you can kind of sample the very best of what's being produced in the local community. Another would be outdoors cafes and seating. Public markets are really about the experience. And so whether it be inside in a courtyard that you're sitting there having a drink or enjoying it with friends, or outside, it really creates sort of the experience for you to enjoy it with your family and your friends. Public markets are about sight, sounds, and smells, and the sounds are really important. And so that's where entertainment comes in. You can have things on a stage in a formal way like that and arrange for performances to come in. But you could also, even more exciting, have little pop-up performances that are going, whether it be song or dance or any kind of poetry reading, whatever it might be, that would just sort of pop up in the middle of your shopping experience. And you won't find that in a mall. So that whole sort of uniqueness and the sound of it is something that really contributes to public markets and is a great feature. You also find some public markets have markets within markets, and these are specialty markets. Night markets really are the public market, obviously at night. And we've thought even about FWPM, Federal Way Public Market, could also be Federal Way PM for night. And so night markets are really a chance for primarily probably adults, but also you may have some family events that where people come out at night and just enjoy just the very different experience of being out and having the nightlife within a public market. Cultural markets, we have such a diverse city. We have so much opportunity to take advantage of the diverse foods and art and culture, song, and so on. So I've actually thought that maybe one of the features that might be helpful would be for us to have an international market to take advantage of that. Artisans markets, this is where you celebrate the arts community. You can bring in photographers, painters, those that make different crafts, and let them have the floor for a period of time to really showcase their products where they may not have any other inexpensive place to be able to show those items that they produce locally. A big thing about this is that we really don't have a place in the city for community celebrations year round. We do have the community center, and we do have things like Celebration Park and so on, but these places really serve as a place for cultural, historical, and other community celebrations. And a lot of what it'll do is creates vitality in the community, but it also will draw tourists to come into the city. And finally, access to social services. You know, you can, a lot of the markets provide access to healthy foods at a lower price. They also provide access to WIC or food stamp people that receive those benefits. But it really is also a place that if we had something like this during COVID in our downtown, it would have been a great place to provide access to social services. So access to social services is another feature you'll find in some markets.
Thank you. Greg, can you talk about some of the other interesting information we found in our research?
Sure, Michelle. In the last 2 years, we've done a lot of reading and research into public markets. And one of the main takeaways is that public markets and traditional retail are very different things. There's some overlap because they both sell things, but that's really about it. One thing we learned is that public markets really draw tourists, whether that's from across the county or across the country. Few malls draw tourists, but about a third of visitors to public markets are usually tourists. Have you ever been to Pike Place Market on a summer weekend? It's not locals wheeling those roller bags around. With a light rail, we can bring some of that tourist business down to the Federal Way Public Market. We've also seen survey data where about 90% plus people at malls say they're there to shop and then leave, whereas only maybe 25 or 30% of people at a public market are there primarily to shop. People go to the public market to mingle, to meet friends and see what's new. But at the end of the day, they spend twice as much time and twice as much money at the public market, money that stays local. When folks visit a public market, they'll often visit other nearby restaurants and retail also. So public markets have a halo effect where surrounding businesses benefit from the foot traffic. And so in turn, they'll reinvest in their own businesses. So for every dollar spent developing a public market, typically $2 to $5 more gets invested locally. Lastly, public markets create public spaces with lots of people. And generally criminals don't like witnesses, so they move elsewhere. So public markets, especially ones that have visitors 16 plus hours a day, can really help clean up an area and keep it clean. So markets are just great for economic development in general. You can just look at the Pike Place Market to see how that area is turned into the powerhouse that it is.
Excellent. Thanks, Greg. There's so many reasons why our group believes Federal Way needs a public market. Can the two of you share some of these reasons with our audience?
Okay, I'll jump in here first. So we've talked several times about the fact that Federal Way really needs a destination. You know, there are places like Wild Waves and the Aquatic Center and some places, the Rhododendron Garden, but really we don't have anything that sort of puts Federal Way on the map. And a public market would do that. It would serve as a tourist attraction that would draw tourists. And you just heard from Greg as to the value of drawing more tourists, but also people from surrounding communities to spend their time and their money here. So the other part of this is that we are going to have access to light rail in 2024, which makes it easier for people to come from other places, whether it be via the airport or from the city to come. But we've got to have a reason for them to come here. Also, light rail will be here in 24, 25, but it's also going to extend down to Tacoma. So that it'll be about 6 years or so after, supposedly, after it arrives here. So we will be the end of the line for that period of time, and we need to take advantage of creating that destination so people will come here, because when it gets extended to Tacoma, we don't want to become just a bus stop between Seattle and Tacoma. And a public market will give people a reason to stop here if it's run properly. Our city government has just recently announced that they're really trying to make Federal Way a tech hub, which means they're trying to attract not only technology companies, but other companies that are involved with technology to the city. Those employers are going to want amenities for their employees. And if they're living down around the light rail, or when the mall changes and adds more housing, those employees are going to need places to go for nightlife, for food products, for a variety of goods and services. And we'd rather that they buy local goods and services than buy through a mall or a franchise. So having a public market can really provide an amenity for employees that come here. During the summer, our president, Roger Flagare, was talking about the public market to one of the customers at the farmers market. And that person said, you know, public market could really be the heart and soul of Federal Way. And we've really embraced that idea. Again, it's around a central gathering place because we've never had a town square, never had a main street, and never had a year-round gathering place. And so we really can have this as the heartbeat of Federal Way, the heart and soul of Federal Way, where people feel like it really belongs to them and we come together. It also is a place that when people come in here to visit or to shop, they will notice other amenities and other businesses and things. And so the public market really will draw more customers and visitors to those other parts of the city, which will benefit the city as a whole. Ultimately, that increases tax revenue to the city so that we can provide more support services for the people that live here and make it a more livable community. But also it'll strengthen our businesses. There are small businesses that are operating here by generating more revenue. Again, the dollars that are invested in the public market or are spent in the public market are spent in multiples in the rest of the city. And the biggest part of this is that what is spent here stays here. It doesn't go off to some national chain, to some corporation. The money is spent on local goods and products and stays here, which is really of greatest benefit to us. Ultimately, you'll also see that as the city prospers, that it'll be more desirable for businesses and other people to come here. And so the value of real estate will also climb, and it will just be much better for the city. So I've listed a few ideas. Greg, do you have some thoughts about some other ideas about why we might need a market here?
Yeah, thanks, Dave. A few more things to think about. So the idea of a business incubator is really central to our vision for the public market. It's really the secret sauce to its success. You know, Federal Way is probably tops or maybe, you know, number 2 in diversity for cities anywhere in the state. And the incubator will draw that diversity to the market, help those folks get started in the market. That diversity of goods and food is what's going to bring people to the market, will bring the revenue. That revenue helps the incubator, and that virtuous circle continues. So public markets are really great springboards for success. You can go from being a small business to something a bit bigger. You never know. Sur La Table, a high-end kitchen retailer, got its start at the Pike Place Market. And there's a little local coffee chain called Starbucks that also got its start at the Pike Place Market. You know, public markets, despite being the original form of retail, have been making a comeback strongly for a number of years now. And they really capitalize on some national trends that we're seeing. You know, people are looking for not just a transaction, but an experience. They want to buy local products, ones that haven't been shipped all the way across the country. They want to meet the local folks whose very hands have planted the food or created the products. People will continue to shop online, but nothing beats talking directly to that farmer or craftsperson. And post-pandemic, people are really going to want to look for more of those social connections that we've been missing out on. David talked about the farmers market. We love our farmers market here, and we want to see it thrive. Farmers markets, public markets coexist just fine. In fact, they do better together. With the rainy weather that we have around here, having a permanent structure of the public market with the farmers market around can really extend the season for the farmers market. So that would be better for the vendors at the farmers market. And folks that come to the public market will pop over to the farmers market. People that come to the farmers market will pop over to the public market, and we'll all benefit from that. And really, I think the greatest thing that we can do with this market, we've talked on it several times, is to really be the start of the downtown that we've always wanted and needed. If we site it right, it can really tie together the pack and the park and just create a spot for the whole family at various times of the day. We really want the place that can showcase that incredible diversity from Federal Way. And we want to be able to create a vibrant, livable, and prosperous city where folks really want to live, work, and play.
Thanks, Greg. That's really great advice. And as you can imagine, there's going to be a lot of steps to make this happen. So let me give you a sense of what we're working on now and what we'll be working on in the near future. We've been working on our 501c3 designation for the charitable side. That's going to support the business incubator to train and serve under-resourced entrepreneurs to start their own businesses. We're also filing a 501c6, and that's going to serve the operations side. This will allow us to operate the public market and to train and serve residents who could afford to pay for programs like the incubator. We are recruiting public market supporters and volunteers. We're convening a community council. We're enhancing our website and social media reach. And we're doing some community outreach, both in person and group presentations. So if you're looking for if you have a group that you think we'd be good to present to, if they are someone who would want to know more about what a public market can do for them, please let us know. We'd be happy to come out and do a presentation. We're also preparing to do some fundraising and consultation with the City Council and the County Council, as well as applying for state and federal grant programs. Many of these grant programs are matching, so we're going to be looking for donations from the public. Our future projects are to conduct a feasibility and site studies. We understand from quotes that these will be about $120,000 to $130,000. We are seeking community input and involvement. We're working with the City Council and planner on their plans to create a downtown to make sure that we fit in. Developing plans and budgeting for the business incubator. And we're finalizing the C6 to develop plans and budgeting for running the public market. We need to develop cost and space estimates for the market. And we also need to develop designs for the building. And here's where you come in. To be a community-driven market by and for the residents, we need a lot of help from people who live here. Here are some of the ways to get involved. We want you to provide information to Sound Transit during their public comment period and tell them that you would like to have a public market somewhere located near the light rail station. Federal Way is also looking for input, so we'd like to have you go to engagefedway.com and the open houses and voice your concern about what you think should be in downtown. And we hope you also say a public market will be part of that. We'd like you to promote and attend Federal Way events, whether they are online or in person. And if you could share that with other people, we'd greatly appreciate that. So here's how you can help. To volunteer your time and talents, we'd like to have you email us at fwpm@gmail.com. And in that email, we'd like you to put your full name, your email address, and I want to volunteer. That will trigger us to send out an email to you with a questionnaire so that you can tell us what your skills are and what you want to volunteer with. If you don't have time or talents, or don't think you have talents, but you do, we'd like to have you donate. We will always take your money. You can donate by going to our website at fedwaypm.org or by scanning the QR code. Click on the donate button and make your donation. Any amount will help. And then follow us on Facebook and Nextdoor, because both of those locations are where we're going to be sending out our next steps and what we are doing and what we're accomplishing. Again, thank you for taking time to review this brief video. We hope it helps you better understand public markets and why we're so excited to bring one to our city. We'd like to thank you for joining us today, and we hope to have an in-person community meeting here in the near future. So on behalf of the board of the Federal Public Market, thank you very much.